Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We will start the roundtable on Turkmenistan and the EU forging new economic partnerships. Welcoming Deputy Chief of Cabinet of the Cabinet of Ministers of Turkmenistan, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkmenistan, Mr. Meredov. Welcome to Brussels. It's great to see you again. We have here a very interesting gathering at the roundtable with a lot of representatives of the European private sector with few Belgian CEOs present. We have here think tanks. We have OECD from Brussels, from Paris, and European representatives of the European Union. It's the relationships between the EU and Central Asia has been developing very rapidly over the last years, and Central Asia has become extremely important for the European Union. Turkmenistan today remains one of the unexplored and yet very promising markets for the European private sector. And yet there are some companies which are doing very well, and hope some of them are present here today, and they will share their views and their opinions and their experience with us. Your Excellency, Mr. Meredov, I give you the opening remarks.
Thank you very much, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to welcome all representatives of the European companies, EU, economic, financial, and research institutions which are present today. I am grateful for your interest in current economic development of Turkmenistan and its potential to expand mutually beneficial economic cooperation with international partners. The main message of today's meeting is business in dialogue, which is built on the principles of mutual respect, equality, and understanding of the prospects of for the mutual beneficial partnership. In general, it should be noted that Turkmenistan EU dialogue is actively developing and covers many directions. Today I talked about it with my European colleagues, and tomorrow we'll continue this dialogue with very high-level officials from the European Commission, European Council, and other structures. Today we see European companies as reliable and promising partners, dynamically developing economic system, rich natural resources, favorable geographic location, as well as open doors policy of Turkmenistan provide wide prospects for effective economic partnership. We welcome European companies to actively participate in economic projects with focusing on using sustainable and climate-friendly technologies in Turkmenistan. Speaking about economic potential of Turkmenistan, with your permission, of course, I would like to note some macroeconomic indicators. So, in particular, stable GDP growth was ensured in 2023, reaching 6.3%. It means $61 billion GDP for last year. Foreign trade balance of Turkmenistan for last year amounted about $21 billion, and export is 1.7 times bigger than import. Total volume of exports of products manufactured in our country reached $11.4 billion. Turkmenistan continues its policy of diversifying energy exports. In 2023, we exported natural gas to countries such as China, Russia, Azerbaijan, and Uzbekistan. The geography of exports of petroleum products, electricity, and mineral fertilizers is expanding. This was also facilitated by widespread introduction of advanced technologies and the digital systems in all areas of production. Additional income from export of hydrocarbons allows us to implement active investment policy aimed at developing industries with high added value. Investments in our economy are growing, and in 2023, it was more than $11 billion just during 1 year. Turkmenistan stimulates implementation of balanced macroeconomic and structural policies, mobilization, and efficient use of resources. All these measures allow us to create new jobs, including in the private sector, and make transition to green economy. By the way, last year, a total of more than 12,000 new jobs were created. Turning to bilateral Turkmen EU trade and economic relations, I would like to note that we have big potential for cooperation in such areas as energy, transport, industry, and high technology. We have positive experience of cooperation with Belgian companies such as Picanol, Van de Wille, Dutch companies Philips, Royal, IHC, Luxembourg company Cargolux, and others. At the same time, I would like to note that mutual potential of Turkmen EU business cooperation can be used much more effectively. In this regard, I propose to consider following of proposals in specific areas of cooperation. First, in energy sector, we are ready to discuss supply of machinery and equipment from European companies for oil, gas, and electrical industries of Turkmenistan. Taking this opportunity, I would also like to invite major European business to consider possibility of working in oil and gas fields located in Turkmen sector of the Caspian Sea. At the same time, Turkmenistan pays great attention to develop of such areas as renewable energy, understanding that green energy is the energy of the future. Turkmenistan today taking a number of practical actions at national level. We pay special attention to the development of international cooperation in the field of hydrogen energy. A separate topic is interaction with foreign companies and international structures on the projects of reducing methane emissions and utilization of bypass gas at hydrocarbon resource fields. On December 1st last year, during the COP28 summit in Dubai, President of Turkmenistan announced that our country is joining Global Methane Pledge. Our country is following the course of low carbon economic development, which involves transition to the use of modern, ecologically friendly and resource-saving technologies in industry and transport. We would also like to study Europe's experience in the field of hydrogen energy in order to create high-tech production facilities in Turkmenistan. By the way, I would like to inform you that the President of Turkmenistan adopted by his special decrees two very main strategies: strategy of the international cooperation of Turkmenistan in the field of the hydrogen energy, and the special national program of the international cooperation of my country in the field of the reduction methane emissions. In the chemical industry, we invite companies to consider the possibility of participating in projects for the construction of new and modernization of existing chemical plants. The next area is transport and communications. For a number of years, we have successfully worked with European companies to implement projects to expand cellular communication services, satellite systems, and maritime transport. We're also ready for a substantive discussion on the development of railway transport, shipbuilding equipment, effective use of transport and logistics potential of Turkmenbashi International Seaport, and the opening of new forms of interaction in the field of telecommunications. It could be done within the EU's Global Gateway initiative. Along with this, we invite European companies to also participate in projects to develop digital economy of Turkmenistan. We have the special national program, Digital Economy of Turkmenistan. Dear participants, in our opinion, financial and banking sector can become leading direction of Turkmen EU cooperation. In this regard, we invite European banks, export credit institutions, insurance organizations to actively develop direct relations with state and commercial banks of Turkmenistan. We have a very positive experience in this regard with Deutsche Bank, Commerzbank. Now we're working very hard to increase our cooperation with some banks from the European countries. If this field, if this area will be interested for our partners from the European countries, please, as I said, we will be ready to discuss very concrete issues regarding our cooperation in this very important field of our collaboration with Europe. Turkmen side is also interested in cooperation in water management sector, in particular modernization of water supply and water distribution system in Turkmenistan. In this regard, we propose to consider possibility of participation of European companies in implementation of the renovation project of Karakum Canal. A separate topic is purification of water for drinking purpose in cities and rural areas. The problem of groundwater also remains relevant for us. The above issues in the water management sector could be subject of future cooperation with European companies with extensive experience in water management issues. Ladies and gentlemen, in my speech, I would like to especially note the social orientation of our economy. In particular, we pay great attention to medicine and healthcare. Over the past 25 years, dozens of medical institutions have been built in Turkmenistan, equipped with modern medical equipment and advanced technologies in the field of healthcare. Thousands of qualified specialists have been trained. And in this matter, we are cooperating positively with our German and Austrian partners. We are aimed at expanding our partnership in this field. Last June, opening of the first stage of the new city of Arkadağ took place in Turkmenistan. Today, we have begun the construction of the second stage of this city. One of its important components is planned to be industrial cluster. In particular, we are planning to build number of plants focused on production of certain types of products of medical industry, pharmacy, and baby food. In this context, we invite European companies to explore possibilities of participation in creation of this cluster. I would like to make a special note about Ashgabat city project. This is project of the new city with tall up to 35 floors buildings. In this regard, we invite European companies to take active part in implementation of this project. Dear participants, I mentioned only few priority areas for development of trade and economic cooperation between Turkmenistan and the European Union. Business Turkmen side is open to constructive ideas and proposals. Once again, I would like to underline that we have significant potential of opportunities that need to be realized. I count on strong support and active participation of the European institutions in this activity. In conclusion, on behalf of Turkmen delegation, I would like to express gratitude to all participants in today's roundtable for interesting and constructive dialogue on the future development of trade and economic relations between Turkmenistan and the European Union businesses community and all interested organizations. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks. Today we have tried to make all-round effective event. So first, we have two panels coming up, which is one which is going to be opinions of the OECD, DG INPA, and the European Institute for Asian Studies. So and then I would say public sector view from the EU. And then we will speak also from the perspective of the private sector. So we have a few CEOs here who have arrived, and they will share with us their opinion. I want to very briefly, before moving on to our next speakers, I want to thank the European Institute for Asian Studies for supporting us. Lynn is here, and Central Eurasian Development Forum, which is a new forum which is designed to support Central Asian countries in order to engage with the European Union. So our first speaker for the second panel, Bridges of Cooperation, Economic Partnerships and Opportunities between Turkmenistan and Europe. We have Director for Middle East, Asia and Pacific of DG International Partnerships of European Commission, Mr. Petris Ustups. Welcome, and you have the floor.
Dear Minister, dear participants, dear organizers, it's true privilege to be this afternoon here and participate at the roundtable designated for closer cooperation between Turkmenistan and the European Union. And first of all, it's great pleasure to welcome Minister to Brussels. And on behalf of EU Commission, I would like to say thank you for a very warm welcome you extended to a delegation from EU Commission in January to your beautiful capital when Vice President Schinas visited your country in order to prepare for Investors Forum, which then just 10 days later took place here in Brussels. And I would like to say a few more words about the transport in particular, because that is one of the issues you also, Minister, addressed in your introductory remarks. First of all, I see the new dynamics, and I see also the interest of Turkmenistan to play a great role and dynamic approach towards the transport development and transport cooperation. We were very privileged to welcome significant delegation from Turkmenistan at the Investors Forum here in Brussels, and that was a good occasion not only to discuss what we should do in terms of development of Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor between EU and Central Asia, but also see it more in detail how different parts of that transport corridor should be developed and unlocked. It was a good occasion also to see that key European development banks, European Investment Bank, EBRD, World Bank, as well as the Asia Development Bank, all together came and put the forces and vision together for Central Asia Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor, allocating or indicating that we would like to put forward 10 billion of resources to develop Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor. So that allocation is not specific for countries yet. But there are specific projects indicated in EBRD's study, which would allow us to see what kind of projects we can develop, specifically also in Turkmenistan. And of course, there is a huge potential for that, specifically because of Turkmenbashi port. And Minister, you alluded to the different logistical capacities, shipbuilding, as well as the ship capacities across the Caspian, as well as the container capacities. And beyond, then it moves also to the railway sector. One thing is to organize investors forum, and that was a good occasion to have attention of the partners. On the other hand, it is a different thing to follow up. And this is what keeps us busy at the moment, because we are calling and organizing a coordination platform, which will be created after this investors forum, to ensure that Central Asian partners, including Turkmenistan and others, other 4 of the Central Asia, together with the key development partners, development banks, are sitting together and monitoring and following up on concrete proposals how to advance the investments into the transport sector. We have a concrete plan. We have concrete investments already identified. On the other hand, it is not only about rails and roads, it is also about soft infrastructure, meaning that there is a lot what needs to be done on the cooperation between Central Asian countries, ensuring that the transport is moving smoothly across the borders and unlocks the huge economical potential of all 5 Central Asian countries. It is at the end not only potential of one individual country, but it is a huge economical potential of all 5. And last but not least, in this context, it is also about the more closer economical integration of 5 Central Asian countries. And we see that through those soft measures, actually, we would be able to advance that agenda. Besides coordination platform and our contributions through European Investment Bank to the transport sector, we are also developing transport, regional transport program for Central Asia, which will be adopted early 2025, also as a next step to support the investments and support the transport infrastructure more in general in Turkmenistan. It is a regional program, and it will have a support to all 5. But of course, in Central Asia, Turkmenistan is also part of that regional program. As continuation of the introductory remarks presented by the minister, I would like also to say that we are very happy to see that International Trade Center of WTO started implementation of significant program designated specifically for Turkmenistan on the 1st of March, which is designed specifically for 2 purposes. First of all, to integrate Turkmenistan more into the multilateral trading system. And secondly, facilitating the next steps of access of Turkmenistan to WTO. From one side, it might see as completely different topic, but when we talk about transports, when we talk about economical development, automatically it leads to the need of well-organized, well-structured, and well-designed trade policy being in place, and that program is exactly designated for that purposes. There is a lot what we can do in terms of reaching out and facilitating the transport. That is a key at the moment for linking and creating more connectivity between the EU and Central Asia. Minister, you alluded also to the digital component, which is very significant for our approach to the wider region, ensuring that actually also all elements linked with digital documentation, customs procedures, can be put in place, again, facilitating not only internal processes in one country, like Turkmenistan, but also linking all those elements together between the countries. Transport corridor is not only corridor in one direction, it works both ways. And of course, looking at economical potential and economic growth of Central Asia in coming years, we have, as Europeans, to consider how to ensure that all the equipment, heavy equipment, less heavy equipment, could reach Central Asia via Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor. And of course, in that regard, again, Turkmenistan is going to play a significant role, as you have the ports on the Caspian Sea. And at the moment, if we compare the economical potential of those several ports in the region, Turkmenbashi port is operational using only 30% of the current capacity. So there is a huge potential for growth for all kinds of cargoes, including for the containerized cargoes. I see that in coming months, our relations will continue to be very dynamic from the EU side, as we are preparing for the first EU Central Asia Summit in the region. So I think all those activities are on very much important for our relations. And once again, in entire equation of the cooperation between EU and Central Asia, it's very good to see the interest of Turkmenistan being present in Brussels, engaging with the Commission. And once again, Minister, thank you very much for finding time to come and visit EU and the Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ustups. Of course, the activity of and attention of European Commission to Central Asia has been growing, and indeed potential of cooperation with Turkmenistan is something that it's great to see that also the public sector across the EU, but also the European Commission, European Union here in Brussels, is paying a lot of attention to developing the economic ties, the transport ties, to support the development of those relationships. And of course, as the DG International Partnership is really, in many ways, we see leading that dialogue. And I want to thank you as well for being so proactive, considering that especially you are responsible also for the very large area, indeed, Middle East, Asia, and the Pacific. Next, I'd like to invite Lynn Goethals. She's a director of European Institute for Asian Studies, think tank based here in Brussels, and our partner. Lynn, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Rubek, and especially also for helping organizing this event today, together with the Central Eurasian Development Forum, and of course with the embassy here. And thank you all for being here today. It is a great honor to welcome you here in Brussels, Mr. Minister, and especially since people-to-people exchanges are vital to uphold strong relations and to forge mutual understanding, which is why your visit and our discussion today are of such an essential value. The opening up of the EU delegation to Turkmenistan in 2019 and the opening of the Turkmen embassy here in Brussels have thereby added force to the level of exchanges and dialogue between the EU and Turkmenistan. Advancing people-to-people exchanges and cooperation in education and research, but also in youth and tourism, can foster enduring ties. And as already mentioned, there is major untapped potential between the EU and Turkmenistan. This was also shown by the EU Central Asia Investors Forum just recently. And in recent years, the role of Central Asia and Turkmenistan in the EU's external agenda has been extended, marking a significant shift. In line with the EU's de-risking policy, the growth prospect of the Middle Corridor and the leverage such enhanced connectivity can bring to the development of the wider region and into forging new economic partnerships is taking center stage. As a potential logistics hub and gateway further into Central Asia, Turkmenistan can serve as a strong partner for the EU in the region. In order for trade relations between Turkmenistan and the EU to further expand, the seeds will need to be planted to create enhanced opportunities for private investments and to foster a further favorable business environment. This is thus an invitation to Turkmenistan to also further open up for EU investment, to forge closer cooperation and to help create a more favorable environment for foreign investors. In modernizing Turkmenistan's industry and logistics or infrastructure, there's huge potential for cooperation with the EU in the provision of technological and digital know-how and expertise, also in advancing local production of semi-finished and finished products in the end. Besides the prospects for improving connectivity across the Caspian Sea between Turkmenistan and Azerbaijan, other projects bear great promise in enhancing trade and investment links, also with the EU. For instance, the Trans-Caspian gas pipeline aimed at linking Turkmenbashi and Baku will facilitate the transportation of natural gas from Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan to EU countries, avoiding routes through Russia and Iran. By aligning with the Southern Gas Corridor, this pipeline has the potential to access significant Turkmen gas reserves and provide Turkey and Europe with a new gas supply, making it a particularly compelling venture. The Caspian Sea serves as a lifeline for Turkmenistan and its neighbors. It will thus be key to mitigate the impact of climate change as well. The Caspian Sea already faces challenges in shipping due to a lack of vessels suitable for its relatively shallow and periodically freezing waters, while climate change has been causing a steady decline in the sea's water levels, further hindering the development of transport initiatives in this region. So despite Turkmenistan holding the 5th largest gas reserves worldwide, it cannot escape the green transition, which also holds growth potential for EU cooperation and for development in the region. So the question is, how can Turkmenistan act as a strong, reliable partner for the EU in trade, connectivity, and the construction of new transportation corridors? So ultimately, how can intra-regional cooperation in Central Asia serve as a mechanism for development and attracting trade and investment opportunities? And I hope these questions will be further discussed during the discussion later on. So thank you, Mr. Minister, and looking forward to the further discussion and speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And indeed, so European Institute for Asian Studies has been instrumental in really helping to understand here to many stakeholders, private and public sector, to understand Central Asia and Turkmenistan, to see you start and work together with us on events covering Turkmenistan. It's a very good progress, I think, indeed. And I hope our work will continue and really bring more attention to Turkmenistan as well, and try to help stakeholders in Brussels to really dig in and to understand more about the country. Next, we have Gregory Lacomte. He's head of Central Asia unit at Eurasia Division and OECD, coming from Paris today. Thank you very much for being here. Gregory, you have the floor.
Thank you, Aybek, Minister, Ambassador, colleagues. Thank you. It's a pleasure. OECD has been increasingly cooperating with Turkmenistan in the last 5 years, which shows a positive dynamic that I will try to illustrate in my intervention. So what I will speak about is about how Turkmenistan could seize investment and trade opportunities by improving the framework conditions, policies, basically. This builds on recent work that has been supported by the EU. So this publication on improving the legal environment for business in Central Asia, including in Turkmenistan in particular. So let's speak first about foreign investment. What did we notice in this work? We surveyed private sector, foreign investors, in fact, asking them how it's going on in Turkmenistan and how to improve. What did we note? First, access to information on the legislative framework for investment has improved in the last years. Law, codes, decrees are published, for instance, on the Ministry of Justice official website. This may sound like a detail, but it's important for potential foreign investor. Also, all the legislation now is being translated into foreign languages, such as English, which is great, and it's correlated with the WTO accession. In fact, it's a commitment that has been taken. So this is for the progress achieved. However, we still see room for improvement. Foreign investors notice that the legislation sometimes is difficult to access in the draft mode. So there is limited consultation with the private sector community prior to publishing or editing a new legislation. So we suggest perhaps looking at this area to improve further. So this is one. Two is about contract enforcement. Foreign investors indicated to us that there should be an improvement in the judiciary, economic justice, basically, and execution of a contract when there is some issues. So this may reduce the attractiveness of a country for investors. What did we recommend to Turkmenistan in this work? First, to establish an investment promotion agency. This has proved quite successful in OECD countries and even in countries of the region, such as Kazakhstan. We suggest Turkmenistan establish such an agency to build trust with investors and facilitate the relation as well. And also, we suggest the government looks at building a stronger and efficient judiciary for an alternative dispute resolution for foreign investors. This is on the foreign investment aspect. Now I speak about trade. Building on this work we did recently on trade facilitation in the region, in Central Asia, collecting data and information from different countries. So first, we are happy again to share that there's a positive dynamic. Turkmenistan, for the first time, has accepted to contribute to building the database, OECD database. This is a database that includes more than 100 countries, and for the first time last year, Turkmenistan was included in this database, which is an excellent signal. One of the improvements we've noticed on trade facilitation pertains to digitalization and access to information, and we can mention the EU-supported Turkmenistan Trade Information Portal built by ITC, for instance. This is an excellent achievement. Still, we see that the country lags behind, again, the peers on different topics when it comes to trade facilitation, such as information availability, involving the trade community in explaining the procedures in advance, and also automating the procedures. Last but not least, OECD sometimes could not collect all the data necessary. There are still some gaps, but we hope for the next edition, these gaps will be filled. So in conclusions, we want to support further Turkmenistan in seizing this investment and trade opportunities, looking at policies, which is our primary business at OECD, monitoring the situation. We'll do this in partnership, in particular with Turkmenistan, our partner here, but also with the European Union, which has been supporting us for the last 10 years. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Gregory. And indeed, from your side, to the fact that there is a tangible and measurable progress in Turkmenistan, to hear that is important, but also, of course, the recommendations that you make on the policy are also important, not in all the OECD countries, in fact. And then we see also more and more engagement that you have across the region. And hopefully, yeah, that will continue. And indeed, the EU support in that continued EU support is that important. Next thing I want to move forward to is the second part of our discussion here. As I mentioned earlier, we have European private sector leaders, some of them who are really already working in Turkmenistan. His Excellency, Mr. Minister, mentioned some of those companies as well. And I'd like to hear more about your experience. We have about 80 people, Your Excellency, watching online as well, on different platforms. And we have several leaders. I urge you to please be brief and precise. First, I'd like to give an opportunity to Jean-William Schergrund, Vice President of, I'm sorry if I misspelled that, Public Affairs at Philips. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. The right pronunciation is Schergrund, but nobody around the table can do that. So thank you very much for inviting us here, and thank you very much for your support and welcoming us as Philips into the country. We've enjoyed the visit of the ambassador last year to our facilities in Eindhoven, and you spoke about the opening of the new city, Arkadag, in June last year, where we were present. at the opening of the hospital that we built there with our partner. So we're seeing a big change in healthcare. We applaud you for your investment. And it's, of course, the thing that most citizens want from their governments. If you ask citizens, what do I want from my government? What do I expect? It's good healthcare and good education. And often it's healthcare first. And we are seeing that as countries are investing in healthcare because the increasing healthcare needs, there's also the realization that access to healthcare becomes more complex. And at the same time, we're seeing a digital revolution of healthcare. The AI in particular people say AI has the biggest potential to transform healthcare. It's a very conservative sector, but AI is currently disrupting healthcare in a magnificent way that can help us address some of the challenges we face in access to care. Now, you built new hospitals in Turkmenistan. You're invested in healthcare in a big way. But there are a couple of things that we see everywhere, also in Turkmenistan. Access, geographic limitations to access are critical. Secondly, skilled professionals. Now, you've invested in thousands of people, but you also see that there's a need to educate them and to raise their skills profile to use new technologies for new diseases in a more efficient way and a more cost-effective way. And thirdly, we see that hospitals are busy. Everybody wants care. So how do we make sure that healthcare professionals can be more productive so we don't need so many of them? Most of the healthcare professionals in the world are burned out, are experiencing stress. So we are seeing that with AI, we're transforming that. The opportunities also in Turkmenistan are through education and access to care to move care digitally to people without people having to travel. With mobile solutions, with digital solutions, with simpler solutions, which are AI enabled so that the nurse can do it instead of the doctor. And we're also seeing that the transformation of hospitals and quality care in the hospital can be accelerated through technology by upskilling and by taking the boring stuff away from healthcare professionals and letting the AI take care of that. Now, you need partnership. We have two great partners in Turkmenistan, local partners, skilled, tooled, equipped. But we also need to bring in more healthcare education and healthcare technology, and we look forward to doing that with you. And thank you very much for the hospitality again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean-William. Another company that we hear, a very famous company from Belgium, we have Johan Verstraete, Vice President of Picanol Waving Machines. Again, I realize I misspelled that. Please, you have the floor.
No problem. It's Verstraete, but also nobody can pronounce it. So don't worry. So we are indeed Picanol, a more traditional sector than Philips Healthcare. So we are making weaving machines since 1936. We started, of course, with shuttle machines, as everyone in that time. Nowadays, we are making airjet and rapier machines, which refers to the technology with which you are bringing in the yarn into the fabric. So we focus on high added value machines, performance, versatility, the most digitized machine on the market, lowest energy consumption, and also durability. So we are proud to say that just like Rolls-Royce, our machines live longest and they have the highest second-hand value in the market. Applications woven on our machines are various, so it varies from apparel. You are wearing suits. I'm glad to see that because it's not knitwear, so it's woven. Households that varies from curtains, bed sheets, tablecloth, hand towels, and so on. And then, of course, also more and more technical applications like parachute, for example, like agrofabrics, and a lot of other applications. A typical weaving machine is fabricating or is weaving something like 40 square meters per hour. If you calculate this on a 24/7 basis, on a 365 days a year, then you come to something like 350,000 meters per year per machine. So it's a high productivity tool. We have factories in Belgium and China, and we are vertically integrated. So we have our own foundry, machining, electronics department, and so on. Why is Turkmenistan especially interesting for weaving or to create weaving mills? Well, I think it's quite obvious. 60% of the cost of a fabric is raw material, 15% is energy, 15% is labor, and 10% is amortization and maintenance of the equipment. So if you look at Turkmenistan, the raw material to start with is abundantly available. So first of all, you have cotton, which is abundant. That's one. Secondly, you have a lot of gas. So that means that you can also produce polypropylene, which is also raw material for more technical fabrics. Secondly, energy. So we have cheap energy, a lot of gas, so also a lot of opportunities there. And you have an abundant, young, cost-competitive, and well-educated labor reserve available. So I think that all the factors are there to build a successful textile industry. Moreover, it helps you to add value also to the production of cotton. So getting closer to the customer, that means that you get more added value into the country. What have we as Picanol been doing in Turkmenistan? Since the beginning of the century, we have been present there. And we have, in the meantime, an installed base of over 500 machines. So the first one we started with nearly 20 years ago was Wigil Bazaar. In the meantime, we have also GAP, Ruhabat, Kaka, Babadayhan, and recently also two major projects in Kaka and Babadayhan, which were installed at the occasion of the 30th anniversary of Uzbekistan. And so currently we are also working on various projects, and in the months to come, we will be able to announce more agreements and more contracts with Turkmenistan countries. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Johan. Also here we have Wim Sarens, the CEO of Sarens Group, a very famous Belgian company.
Thank you. We entered into Uzbekistan as well. So Turkmenistan for us is new, but again, it's a bit a country I would say that we are extremely interested in. We know how to operate. We typically enter a country, and within 2 years, we set up more than 90% local content through intensive training programs. And yeah, we are typically an investor in a country. In Central Asia, we've invested now more than 150 million euro. And I think over the last 5 years, we took part, an instrumental role, actually, in one of the largest private, let's say, investment programs in Kazakhstan, and they're called the TCO project. There was a private investment of more than $50 billion, of which we actually took care of the entire logistics coordination of every, I would say, heavy over-the-road transport and marine transport, working intensively with Chevron, Exxon, and the Kazakh government. Knowing that, yeah, Uzbekistan has the, let's say, the recent entry for us for the last 5 years, we were quite successful there, and I'm quite sure we can repeat the same in Turkmenistan. It also has an oil and gas sector. As some of the colleagues already said, yeah, there are quite a lot of educated people there, abundant workforce available. For us, yeah, it's one of our next entries and looking forward to enter the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sarens. And here we also have a representative, senior manager for government relations and traffic rights at Cargo Lux Airlines, Patrick Jene. And yeah, one of the more very successful companies, I believe, in Central Asia, and particularly in Turkmenistan. Patrick, it would be very interesting for us to find out about your experience and your thoughts on Turkmenistan. Thank you.
So thank you very much, dear Minister, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me here today. So I'm quickly going to present Cargolux. Indeed, Cargolux is a Luxembourgish-based airline. We operate 30 airplanes. We only operate cargo airplanes, and we work for industry. So we're not in the express, we're not in the parcel business. We are more into the large type of shipments. We have indeed just very briefly about the company itself. We're currently number 8 on the market, so we transport the same kind of amounts of cargo than Lufthansa Air France, for example. And we specialize in the transport of cargo, in particular between Europe and Asia, between Asia and North America, and also between Europe and North America. So why is Turkmenistan interesting for us? Well, Turkmenistan is very well located on the halfway point on the routes between Europe and Asia. So when we fly cargo, we operate under a different logic than passengers. Passengers like to have direct flights. For cargo, it doesn't matter if we have a stopover. In fact, it's better because we optimize the utilization of our airplane and we're able to refuel on the way. So actually, to have a stopover destination in Central Asia is very good for us. So this is what we do. We started operating to Turkmenistan on the 29th of June 2015. So very soon we'll be able to celebrate our 10 years of activity in Turkmenistan. We started flying to Ashgabat, and then in 2019 we were able to move to we started in Turkmenbashi. Turkmenbashi on the Caspian coast, and in 2019 we were able to move to Ashgabat. Now, from our point of view, we're very happy with our operation in Turkmenistan. It's been working very smoothly. We have a very good and productive relationship with Turkmen Hava Yolları, which is the civil aviation authority, and also Turkmenistan Airlines. And what we have also done is we are cooperating, for example, in terms of training. So we are offering training programs to the staff of Ashgabat Airport, for example, in terms of de-icing and different training programs. What we do not do very much at the moment is to the actual transport of cargo to Turkmenistan. We have done it in the past, but since COVID, it has been less. And this is definitely something that we would like to do much more in the future. So from our point of view, we are happy to further develop the cooperation, and including also with Turkmenistan Airlines, and also to have opportunities for the transport of goods to and from Turkmenistan. Perhaps because Mr. Minister Meredov, you mentioned that you're also developing pharmaceutical industry, and actually pharmaceuticals is one of the type of goods that we would typically transport. We transport a lot of machinery, we transport a lot of high-tech goods, we transport indeed anything that is either high value or very sensitive or needs to be transported very quickly. So I think we see a lot of potential, and we'll be happy to develop this in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick. And last but not least, we have here a sales director, Europe at Royal IHC, Hans Hessen. And I believe you have a presentation, so my colleague will.
No, I don't need it.
Okay, excellent.
Let's because I think presentation also short. So thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, for the invitation to participate in this round table. The slides, I don't think we will need it, but we have a long history in Turkmenistan. IHC is a world market leader in dredging equipment. And we also have a long history in Turkmenistan. We were there as from 2017. We delivered 96 dredges in the country for the State Committee of Water. They have been operating there ever since. We have trained some 200 people locally with our local partner in the country. And we have also learned a lot from these experiences. So we are now actually developing a new type model, which is specifically specified for the Turkmenistan conditions. So all this experience and we have gathered, we learn from it, and we introduce it to our newest models. I'm very happy to hear that, and also the minister explained that I think we share the same values, which is partnership, and also our drive to go for sustainable and sustainable and environmental friendly solutions. So this is in the core of our in the DNA of our company. We listened very carefully to the words also of the national leader in September 2023 in Berlin, where he also addressed, and as the minister also confirmed, the need for water management. And we think that we can contribute on that. The national leader also requested European companies to come up with ideas and solutions for the challenges you have in the country. And we think that we can actively contribute in that. We think that the supply of water and to ensure supply of water of Turkmenistan is a fundamental need. And we have developed two plans. One is for the upper Karakum River and for the reservoirs there, where we think there is a perfect solution to go for electrical dredges, which will give them an advantage as you have an abundance of gas, which can be translated into electricity, and which on the other hand can feed these machines. And on the other hand, we have developed on the feedback which we received from our experts and also from the customer. We have modified and adapted and developed a new model which we can introduce in the other areas of Turkmenistan, which are more remotely operating. So we think that there is a huge step to be made, as it's considering a large number of dredges which is required for the country, in terms of standardization, which will improve the possibilities for maintenance, which will have advantages for maintenance, which will have advantage for stock management, advantages for crew training, and also for the interchangeability of crew. And we are happy to further discuss this and have some ideas about that. So thank you very much for being here, and we'd like to discuss further.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan. And Your Excellency, you see today we see more and more interest in Turkmenistan, in the European Union. When we first met was 17 years ago. I was a young man starting to follow Turkmenistan in the oil and gas sector. And today, all these years following Central Asia, we see today a historic high when the private sector is really looking for the opportunities in Central Asia, in Turkmenistan, and particularly to get this number of senior private leaders in one room. I think even the Belgian elected officials very rarely can do. But today you can see by the number of people in this room and the seniority of them is that really Turkmenistan is becoming a star. Turkmenistan is becoming a market which really European private sector is very much looking to explore. Your Excellency, your final remarks would be very much appreciated.
Thank you, Ebek. Dear participants, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, in summarizing today's roundtable, I would like to thank all participants for their contributions to today's discussions. I would like to especially thank Mr. Petris Ustops, Lynn Gettles, Gregory LeCount, and other speakers, including representatives of the European private sector and think tanks, for sharing their unique perspectives and vision of future economic cooperation between Turkmenistan and the European Union. Really, we have a very positive experience, of our cooperation with the European companies. Thank you. My appreciation and my thanks to the Philips, Picanol, Royal IHC, and Cargolux companies. We have a very good experience of our cooperation, and of course thanks Wim Sarens to your proposals. We are ready to cooperate with the companies. Today, during my opening remarks, I tried to describe the situation with the international business in Turkmenistan. Really, we have a very good, very hopeful partners in oil and gas sphere, in transport sector, in trade, logistics, in water management sectors, in agricultural, textile industries, and so. But we need to have more cooperation with Europe, in particular with European companies. From this point of view, once again, you must be sure that Turkmenistan will provide all of the favorable conditions for the European business in Turkmenistan. Legislation. We have a very good and modern legislation, but at the same time, we are working very hard with the international organizations, with some very famous institutions in the context of the developing our legislation. It's a lot of possibilities to have a very good cooperation with the some European law structures and companies, and once again, we in this context we have a very good cooperation with our German partners in this field. Legislation is very important because the legislation is the guarantee of your business in Turkmenistan. Second one, of course, the government of Turkmenistan is and will be open for the very frankly dialogue with the companies. If you would like to meet some officials from the government, ministers or vice prime ministers responsible for this or that sector, please inform us. You could send your letters directly to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I will do everything for the preparation or arranging the meetings for the companies, for the leaders of the companies in Ashgabat. If you would like to invite our people here in Europe, please do the same. At the same time, I would like to say that today we are ready to cooperate with the European companies in new directions. I mentioned about the energy sector. It is not only oil and gas. When we are talking about the cooperation of my country with the international community in the energy sector, we would like to explain our position. Yes, we have a rich natural resources, gas, oil, and so, but at the same time, today, we know, for example, as I said, the green energy is our future. And in this context, we are doing a lot for the expanding of our cooperation in hydrogen energy sector, as I said, methane pledge emissions and other new directions, including the renewable energy sector. You mentioned about the importance of the transport and logistics. We have our Turkmenbashi seaport and other transport hubs in Turkmenistan. We spent a lot of money for the creation, for the creation of new transport infrastructure inside the country, but at the same time, we're doing a lot for the developing of our cooperation with the world. And I very strongly believe that our European colleagues will be more active in this direction. For example, Turkmenistan was one of the initiators of the establishing the new transport transit corridors, Caspian Sea, Black Sea. 5 years ago, we signed quadrilateral agreement between Romania, Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Turkmenistan. Now we are working very hard for the activization of this corridor. At the same time, we, by the initiative of my country, we signed a 5-lateral agreement between Afghanistan. It was during the period of Ghani. Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, Lapis Lazuli corridor. Today, one of our friends mentioned about the digitalization of the transport transit corridors. Yes, one of the examples provided by the national leader of Turkmenistan, at that time he was the president of the country, was to prepare the digital map, digital atlas of the Lapis Lazuli corridor. This is only one example. We are ready to cooperate with the European colleagues in this context also. We are ready to be more active with the implementation of some very large scale and long-term projects. I mentioned about the Arkadal city, Ashgabat city, and so. Our colleague from Philips company informed us about the very active involvement, participation of the company in the construction of the very specific and very important medical institution in Arkadal city. It's very specific, thanks to the company for the providing to us the special equipment for this clinic. But we have a lot of possibilities to bring in Turkmenistan medical equipment, because we have a very we have a specific national program, healthcare. Today, we construct a lot of the new clinics, not only in the capital, in all of regions of Turkmenistan. So, as I said, we are ready to cooperate with our European colleagues in different directions. Dear colleagues, your speeches provided a valuable opportunity to see the business climate of Turkmenistan through the eyes of European partners, and to think about ways of further development of our cooperation. I would especially like to mention the contribution of think tanks once again, which not only enriched our dialogue with in-depth analysis, but also offered strategic recommendations for strengthening economic ties. We discussed a wide range of opportunities for cooperation in key areas, ranging from energy, as I said, and investment, to trade and renewable energy. These discussions confirm the great potential for expanding our economic partnership, especially in the context of adoption of, once again, sustainable and environmentally friendly technologies. This is very important for us. Such cooperation built on mutual exchange of knowledge, technology, and joint efforts opens up new perspectives for both sides. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize Turkmenistan's dynamically developing economy, our vast natural resources, once again, and strategic location, which open up new opportunities for European investors. We are committed to deep engagement across a number of sectors, and are confident that by working together, we can use the opportunities of the future, steering our partnership towards sustainable development and mutual benefit. I thank each participant for their active participation and appreciate our upcoming productive collaboration. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Everybody who took the floor today, thank you very much, everyone, for your time and the opportunity. And indeed, I hope that today's event will open a new page in engagement between the private sector and the government of Turkmenistan and our opportunities. So it's through engagement that we create, in dialogue that we create and explore the opportunities. We have a little reception here. As well, we have 7 members of the delegation of Turkmenistan. I know some of you also have bilateral meetings, but please meet each other, engage with each other, and have a good evening. Thank you very much.